435. I think we're at 435 right now. Tell the people good night.
Good night.
This is your host. What's your name? What's your name? The host doesn't want to say her name. You saying your name, host? Okay, and what's the name of the co-host? What's daddy's name? What's daddy's name? You're just fascinated by your own image. Well, people, good night.
Good night.
Welcome. So, welcome to the live. All right. Yeah, welcome to the live. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button. Double tap the screen over there on TikTok. That's how you hit the like button there. That's how that like button goes over on TikTok. 2 taps on the screen and it will feel your presence. It will feel that you like this stream and it will send that notification out to some more people. Allow those algorithms to know, hey, this is some good stuff. This is stuff that should be shared. So you could share it too. Hit that share button if you're over on YouTube. Sharing is one of the best things that works. Share it to someone. Hit a share over on X and Twitter and Facebook, wherever your profile works. Share that. Say, hey, taking some good stuff on this YouTube. It's saved over on YouTube on my YouTube channel, Nathan Springer. If you missed any of those lives previously, you could head over there and see what's up, see what's what. Well, it's a brand new week. I haven't been here for a while. While I was missing, there seems to, 2 things seem to have taken a lot of the news bandwidth. Bullying. Because of an unfortunate incident that happened, was it last week? Compounded on with some other reports and such. There's been some bullying. There's been some domestic abuse. I mean, that probably, I mean, it would be abuse too, but it goes a bit beyond just the typical common abuse. Wow, look at your mouth. What's going on? And then police seem to be criminals. The police are criminals, and when the police themselves aren't genuinely criminals, the criminals are police. If the police aren't criminals, the criminals are police. What a place to be. What a place to be stuck in.
What's my name?
What's that?
What's my name?
What's daddy's name?
Nathan Luther.
Nathan Luther what?
Finger.
Springer?
What's Lily's name?
What's Lily's name?
Lily's Finger.
Leora Lois Springer. Very good. Yeah. So between the bullying, no, I don't feel so, White Leather. I don't feel so at all. But from the time you see a story about a police kidnapping and they get caught like that, you have to wonder how many of those kidnappings happened and they weren't caught. Because you don't get the feeling like a police is going to do a kidnapping on the first try and then they'll get caught on the first try. I just kind of don't buy that. I just kind of don't believe that's how it went. So no, I don't think the police now start kidnapping, but I do think that this incident made the news. And there was evidence that it was police. And not only was it police, the police were using their police powers in order to do it. Now, there are many accusations that service members of the regiment, of the police, of many of our security services, they run private alternative ways of making money. But to do it while in uniform with police property, with a police car being used as the getaway vehicle, as it were, that's a very interesting move to make. That's quite a move to make. And then you compound on that was it the very next week or next couple days, fake police were doing the same thing. So if a real police stops you, you're worried. You're worried because they might very well be criminals. in more ways than one. They may be criminals that went through the barracks, or they may be criminals that never went through the barracks. Either way, this blue lights and flashing lights with police uniform and police badge and stuff seems to be more of a representation of crime and imminent danger and threat than safety and protection. And that's a very bad place to be, I think, as the police service. I think that's a very horrible place for them to be at. And including in that now we see the I really think, like, sometimes people say that with Double G back in the days when Double G when Double G was the commissioner, part of the problem, they said, was the mamagism. He wasn't actually doing much, he was just talking and making people think. And making people think like he's doing a lot, but he's not actually doing that much. Well, to me, that's part of the job. At least making people feel safe in rhetoric, in talk. At least talk us into safety. At least explain to people what is happening when it's happening. Explain to us, okay, these two officers, XYZ, there's a massive investigation going on. We're looking to clean up the whole thing. How do you mean 2 officers arrested on kidnapping and murder? 4 fake officers doing a kidnapping, police badges found in a raid, and our commissioner of police has not a word to say? The Prudhoe Lasny officer who crashed the van has lost his job and has to pay that for the damages. Oh, interesting. And on the topic of vehicles, I see the police are getting a whole new batch of vehicles, 93 vehicles. So hopefully the talk about not being able to get to people because vehicles are not there, hopefully we won't hear much about that anymore with 93 new vehicles. How many of you think that's going to be what's happening? TTPS adds 93 new vehicles. Hey, where's my window, man? TTPS adds 93 new vehicles, including special edition SUVs. Among the 93 new vehicles added to the TTPS are 4 brand new Toyota Land Cruiser Limited Special Edition vehicles for the police commissioner and the 3 deputy commissioners. Bear in mind, one of those deputy commissioners, as they list the names, Natasha George, Junior Benjamin, and Suzette Martin. Oh, just by the way, 4 police officers at the top of the police service. 3/4 of them are female. Listen, I don't care. I have 2 daughters. I'm not a misogynist. I like to see women make their way and you do your thing. But are you really telling me that on the balance of merit in a physical law enforcement organization like a police service, the 3 out of the 4 people to rise to the top are going to be women? And when I see things like this, it always reminds me that we won was it a trophy or a prize or something like that from some Delaware State National Guard over some bit of our diversity and our ability to progress our police service into the modern generation. Listen, let we be big people. As a woman, if you are a woman or a girl in the life here, let's be big people. You really think the head, 3 out of the 4 at the top of our police service makes sense that it's women? In a country where murders and violent crime is a main focus? That makes sense to you all? Just let me know, because to me something really doesn't seem like it's adding up there. While Leather says that's par for the course in Trinidad, though majoring in the minors, of course. Where just like they're saying the public health care is the best in the Caribbean. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, White Leather, cancelable statement, to be honest. Listen, I am uncancelable. I would like to see the day they try to cancel, because there's nothing to cancel. Nobody there gives me my how I make my money and how I feed my family. None of them do. So you can't cancel me like that. And it shouldn't be cancelable to say the truth. It's like if you're telling me there's a preschool PTA organization, and the preschool PTA organization, 90% of the hierarchy are men. I am going to find something a little off-putting with that. Not that men can't be preschool teachers, not that men aren't parents who take care of their children in preschool, but the preschool age group is somewhere where more than likely you'd find a majority of women. So if at the top of an organization representing that, we find men only, Otis says, well, men were at the top before and it didn't make a difference. Maybe they're just trying something different. That's rubbish, Otis, to the highest degree. Wait a minute. That's not how those things work. If the men weren't making a difference, then you need to increase the standard so you get better people in the role, not change the men to women. So why women can't lead if they're trained and educated to being the devil's advocate? I didn't say they can't. At no point in time did I say women can't lead if they're trained and educated too. What I did say was, do you think on the merits of it that 3 out of the 4 that rise to the top of a police service are going to be women? Does that make sense to you? These women DCPs and COP aren't new to policing. They were there for as much as 34. Yes, but it seems like we are confusing what I'm talking about here. Listen. I am not talking about qualified and educated. I am saying in a police service where physicality in the face of violent crime is a major factor, you think 3/4 of those who rise to the top on merit are going to be women? And Kingman Full 8 says, yes, it makes sense. Of course it makes sense to a man who full 8. All is criminals. All you want nonsense to perpetrate in the place. So of course it makes sense to you. Look at the merits of the gangs. Are the gangs led by women? Which one of those number gangs have a woman at the top? Like, I'm fed up with the nonsense. I don't care. I don't care if people think it's misogynist to say something like that, but it's just common sense. It's just plain old common sense. And like, you're right, White Leather. People talk like, this is a revolutionary new style. While they bring a woman who literally wrote the old-time style of doing policing, who carry us back to the book of all the herders where, let me not get too insulting, but of all the herder police commissioners, she wrote the book on how to be the herder TTPS commissioner. And she's being the very epitome of herders. Epitome of herder Trinidad policing. So where's the new revolutionary change? Where's this change in the policing that maybe we would have found? That's not making sense to me. But either way, the reason I said that, I brought that up in the first place, 1 out of those 3 women was one of the officers who went to Barbados and kidnapped a man. I'm doing well, Kanu. The kidnapping charge came from a judge. Barbados already apologized for their part to play in that nonsense. The Barbados police already apologized for their part in that nonsense. A judge already ruled that it was basically an abduction, a kidnapping. the police officer lady who was in charge of putting down that work, instead of being punished, was promoted. And is now in line to get one of those limited edition special Toyota Land Cruisers. Which is very interesting because that same person was fingered in a road traffic accident where they were guilty of reckless driving, was it? Did they kill the boy on the bus route? That same person with a fresh new police Land Cruiser limited edition now. So, not only are we supposed to believe that in a police service, in a physical police service, that 3 out of the 4 that elevate to the top are women, but one of them has been failing upward continually. Kill a youth, promote. Kidnap a man, promote. How does that work? So are you insinuating the appointments were all political for Officer Rowley to control the TTPS? How could I insinuate something like that, Mr. Otis? How could I? Do you think that women would be more susceptible to being controlled by outside forces? Is that what you are trying to say, Otis? Because I never said that. But if the case is that it seems statistically impossible that 3/4 of those that make it to the top of the TTPS are women, that means someone would have to have their fingers on the scale on who it is makes it to the top. And if someone could have their fingers on the scale about who makes it to the top of the TTPS, wouldn't that same someone have some kind of control over the TTPS also? Kingman the gangster, Mr. Martin apparently wants to know if a court found her guilty. The answer is yes, Kingman. Go read some news for once. If you're an officer and you don't know these things, that's a shame. Good night, Krimak. Just the man to be here. Krimak, is it? That's no problem, Kanu. Krimak, is it statistically possible in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, a police service that polices a nation overrun with violent crime, that 3 out of the 4 people that reach to the top of the police service would be women? Is that a statistical probability, sir? Or that's not a statistical probability, because some people in this chat seem to be sure it is. Jiggles thinks it is. All right, yes, that I think Jiggles, you don't understand what statistics and probability is. I think there may be some lack of understanding in what exactly statistics and probability is. Don't you think in a police service, they that reach the top should be better at policing? If you have to bring, if there's an incident that requires police in your yard right now, your neighbor start cussing and pelting bottle and all of that and all of that and all of that, and you see those three DCPs coming, the 3 female DCPs, do you I'm asking an assumption, do you assume that they will do the job better? Have you ever viewed the merit list before? Yes, I have. And the merit list is words on paper, Jiggles. If the merit list says that a tortoise beat a hare in a straight off 100-meter race where they ran the entire thing, do you believe the merit list or do you believe your knowledge of reality? And therein is the problem. If it is that a merit list could be drafted that puts the obvious, 'cause unreliable, misplaced positions that obviously puts people into misplaced positions. Is it that the merit list is the right? Knowledge. Oh, so you think that the people that need to be in charge of the TTPS are people that should be the most knowledgeable on it? Here's my view on that. I think that's rubbish. I think in a fraternal order, like a police service, the leader of the police service needs to be someone who could be an exemplary person as a police. I want a police commissioner that I feel could come and handle an emergency incident in my front yard by themselves. Do you know, out of the genders, male or female, who shoots in police services statistically? Who shoots people more often? And do you know why? Like, no, in reading this article, somebody has to say it, because at some point in time we have to point out the obvious in this country. We have to point out the obvious. 3 women out of 4 at the top. Women officers shoot way more than men because they do not have the physical strength advantage. So when things go south, they have to grab for their strength equalizer much more often than a man. A strong man, the stronger an officer is, the less likely he has to use lethal force. He come and he hold you so, hey, youth man, sit down there. That is all. And you know that there are people with vested interests in things going another way when you see people defending something like this. Like, if you're being a devil's advocate, that's a devil's advocate, and you're trying to discuss the figure out and whatever. But if you're honestly looking at this and thinking, everything is above board here, that's foolishness. And maybe you deserve to live in a country overrun by crime. Remember that Chris 868, the two officers in Citygate who charged the maxi driver because he didn't want to get involved in police business. You think if that were 2 male officers attempting to apprehend a suspect, like, come on, man. At some point in time, we have to forget this modern political correctness and the modern sensibilities of what we can and can't say and what we should and shouldn't say. And we pretending here like men and women are basically the same, while we know that's basically rubbish. Anybody out here married or have a brother or a sister, men and women are astronomically different, especially when you're talking about at the peak end of performance. Like, what we talking about here? Come now, man. Let we don't mama guy ourselves here. Let we don't mama guy ourselves here. We can't, no mama guy ourselves. We are big people with sense. We are big people with sense. But either way, the police are getting their new vehicles, 93 vehicles, and 4 of those elite Land Cruisers going to the... Jiggles asked, are you advocating that women stay inside or something, Nathan? You see, Jiggles... Oh gosh. Jiggles, this is the problem. This is the problem with us in modern times. If I say men are stronger than women, how do we reach from that to women should stay inside? Like, what is that? If I say women are softer and more nurturing than men, Does that mean that men should never deal with children? So are you saying a man can't take care of a child? How did we reach there? Women are softer and more nurturing than men. Fact. That's all. Let it sit by itself. Fact. That isn't saying that men are incapable of it. That's not at all what is being said. But if we then look at the peak of those things, we're looking at the very pinnacle. The person who is supposed to be the most nurturing and softest in the entire country. We have a Nurturing and Softness Association in Trinidad and Tobago. The Association of Nurturing and Softness. There are some men in the association, but we know obviously women would be the majority. And then at the very top of the association, there are 4 people. And 3 out of the 4 are men in the Association of Softness and Nurturing of Trinidad and Tobago. Wouldn't there be something suspicious with that? And by pointing out something is strange with that, we're not saying that no man should go into nurturing and softness. Maybe, sir, you might be a soft, nurturing man, and by all means, you nurture your way. But if we're talking about the peak of all nurturers and soft people in the entire country, like, are we not going to be reasonable and think about it for even a moment? Like, how could you watch this and think this just ran as it should and ended up like that? You believe so? Do you believe that equal amounts of men and women even apply for the police service? Do you think equal amounts of men and women even apply? Are there equal amounts of men or women in the service right now? But as for the Land Cruisers themselves, I don't really have a problem with the seniority of the police service getting Land Cruisers. I mean, it is an executive vehicle, but really and truly it is the executive of the police service. So the Land Cruisers in and of themselves, I don't have a problem with that. And more vehicles for the police is a good thing. And Toyota is good vehicles. So they're getting a whole fleet of Toyota vehicles. What were the numbers? I'm looking for the numbers of the varying vehicles there. Some RAV4s, some Hiluxes, some Prados. 31 Corolla XLIs, 20 RAV4s, 20 RAV4s 4x2, 5 RAV4s 4x4, 23 Hiluxes, 7 Toyota Prados, 4 Land Cruisers, and 3 Fortuners. And the police are saying they are short of 1,000 plus vehicles. They need at least 1,000 vehicles. Yikes. That's a lot of needed vehicles in the police. That's a lot of vehicles short. I wonder who did that survey, but they say they need 1,000. But the officer who is in charge there has been saying that now they're going to attempt to crack down on some of the bad usage of those vehicles. Let me see where he spoke about that. Where did he speak about that? Baird stated that they will be paying close attention to the use of these police vehicles. lamenting not only the recent use of police vehicles in illegal operations, but also their misuse. A number of senior officers were transferred out of this division, and I was brought here to clean up the misuse of vehicles in relation to officers using it for their own gains. As you know, these vehicles are outfitted with GPS, and when police officers tend to veer away from their area, questions have to be asked, said Baird. He stated that in the past, this division had perceived improprieties relative to accountability and things had gotten out of hand. He said he hoped to bring some stability to this TTPS division. That's such a lawyer answer, eh? I think a lawyer gave him that answer. In the past, this division had perceived improprieties relative to accountability. In other words, people used to be moving with the police vehicles as they please. And according to this officer now, they're trying to get a crackdown on that to change that kind of behavior. Yeah. He was prepped for that interview statement for sure, because the news called for an interview concerning this. They got none, at least none from the commissioner, and several days later this officer called. So he was obviously prepped for this. He's probably a lawyer himself. Maybe. That was a very lawyerish statement. Quite lawyerish. Minister Fitzgerald Hines said the TTPS has a fleet of 2,219 vehicles and about 546 require repairs. He said 1,393 vehicles are operational. 546 need repairs. That's a lot. Like, it's kind of amazing that a government that has the access to the country's entire purse can't keep vehicles on the road. Them officers getting too brave with the government vehicles now. Listen. You know, many times Trinis see officers in the grocery and picking up children from school and normal stuff. Normal. Normal vehicles go on linemen. And I mean, I understand. I think to a properly functioning police service, more vehicles are going to just be increased benefit. I think so. It is going to be increased benefit to a well-functioning police service. But I personally do not believe, this is my personal belief, I saw no research saying such, I did no research to find out. This is just a personal opinion I pull out of thin air. I don't feel like the problem with the TTPS is a lack of vehicles. It's just not my feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. But the Canadian wanted to buy one type of vehicle and have proper maintenance. They didn't want that. Well, no, they didn't want that. But I was thinking about that recently. I remember the days when you could have kind of guessed the police vehicle. You kind of guessed that's a police vehicle from just the make and model, because police used to get vehicle basically in one make and model. I don't fully understand why that's not a thing anymore. Like I understand you would need various styles of vehicles. You may need some SUVs for a certain purpose. You may need some 4x4 vans for a certain purpose. But why would you get different types of SUVs and different types of sedans? Like, why not the same SUV, the whole thing, and the same car, the same sedan, the whole thing? Is wealth sharing for every dealership. The boys eating. Well, boys got to eat, eh? Belly has to fill. Chris, you can't get vexed that officers going to get food. To me, that's not a major problem. The officer's going to get food too, yeah. But these things become a problem when you call and you hear someone say there's no vehicle to send. Trinidadians still hear that very, very regularly. Trinidadians still hear that very regularly. We have no vehicle. And I know that the two may not always be related. But if someone was breaking into your house, and this was and I was part of this article also. So you're living or staying away for some reason, you're not home, but you have that wireless security service. You see someone breaking into your house. You call the police. Someone in this very same story was talking about this. You call the police. You tell them they are at my home right now. If you all send a vehicle, you catch them right now, and they tell you, well, sorry about that, but we don't have a vehicle. All right. If they say that, and then regularly when you go Medfords, because you know that's a watering hole, you go Medfords and a police vehicle park up by the gyros and doubles person for a half hour, 45. And all right, maybe you're sentry in the area, but you're eating a gyros and drinking some punch too. People get a feeling. Like if when you called there was a vehicle that came, then people wouldn't care that the police ate. But when there seems to be a lack, that is stations, Nathan. I'm not saying it's not stations. You know? I am not saying it's not stations. I'm saying why people would look at it a certain way. Like, I get it. Police have to eat. And with the irregular hours they work, yeah, it's understandable they would be buying food regular. That makes sense. And no, you're not going to drop back the police vehicle and pick up your personal vehicle to go and buy something to eat, to go back. No, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, okay, cool. But it's just where there's lack, people compare. It's the comparison that causes it. What's the quote? Comparison is the thief of joy. Remember, they have decentralized stations having too many vehicles and ARP and task force outside. Let me just look at this last bit of crime article here where they're talking about lots of dumped bodies. Remember right. Why they stopped buying the Land Rovers, them White Lotus we used to hear those big strong Land Rovers. No, that's not a Land Cruiser. It's not the Land Cruiser. It's the one that they use, the tall Land Cruiser. Dumping grounds for corpses. Criminals disposing of bodies in abandoned lots and forests. On October 1st, a partial skeleton believed to be the remains of 19-year-old Maria Paul was found buried near a house on Babwa Trace, Barbuda Road, Wallerfield. Paul was last seen alive on September 12th and was believed to be murdered. Investigators are still awaiting the results of a DNA test to conclusively determine whether the remains are those of Maria Paul. On October 4th, the decomposing body of Kunupek used car dealer Sachel Kunjbi Harry was found in a shallow grave in Poker Road, Londonville. Kunjbi Harry was kidnapped by men dressed in tactical police gear. The discovery of the two sets of remains highlighted the prevalence of the bodies being discarded by their killers in a bid to conceal the crime. In this Guardian media investigation, we look at how many bodies would maybe undiscovered in remote locations across TNT. Head of the Hunters Search and Rescue Team says there are at least 15 areas across Trinidad that are used to dispose of the bodies of murder victims. Rambarat has led the volunteer group of hunters and trackers in search of missing persons through dense forests for years. Said the bodies of murder victims are typically found in remote corners of northeastern, central, and southern Trinidad. In the north, he identified the heights of Aripo, heights of Guanapo, Komoto, Wallafield, Carapo, and Dump Road in Arima as areas of concern. In central Trinidad, bodies are often found in abandoned lots in Carney, Montplaisir Road, Kunupier, Claxton Bay, and Calibi, and further south in areas around the M1 and M2 Tasca roads, Faizabad, as well as abandoned areas around Point Fortin and Santa Flora. These are areas connected by winding networks of dirt tracks and unofficial clearings accessed from multiple directions and difficult to monitor. You know, this is something I regularly think about when we're talking about the number of murders in Trinidad. Trinidad and Tobago, JN Noel. When we talk about the number of murders in Trinidad and Tobago, I often wonder how many of those go unaccounted for. How many of those are dumped and discarded and the body decomposes to too far of an extent before anybody finds it? Or it's eaten and carried away and spread throughout the forest by critters. I don't think the chance of such a thing happening is zero. Missing person is not considered a murder case. Exactly, I know. And Trinidad has a lot of missing people. And all of the missing people may not be officially considered missing. If some guy who is a known community criminal, his family doesn't pay too much attention to him, he lives basically on his own. If he involved in whatever he involved in and goes missing, and somebody does whatever they do and get rid of him in some bush somewhere, the family isn't going to the police to make a report. Nobody even declares him missing. Nobody may find that body ever. Like, for me, because of the state of Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a scary thing to consider. It's unfortunate that's the way it is, but most of the times when you see a missing person, especially if it's a young man, if you see a young man missing, the chances are very high that he may not be found again. When will they admit there's a serial killer or killers? Obviously, there are serial killers in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I don't know if they are the regular sadistic loner sit down in a remote camp in a forest somewhere, smelling the last person's dead hand or some kind of creepy thing like that. But many of those gangsters are obviously serial killers. If you have a country the size of ours that is exceeding 600 murders and that kind of stuff, obviously a lot of those murders are perpetrated by the same people. There may be one person. I wouldn't doubt that the number may ring some of our ears. If we hear how many bodies, the person who has the most bodies, how many bodies they have. Some kind of 50, 60 or something. You're like, what a human being in Trinidad and Tobago has killed 60 people. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I wouldn't be. Because I wouldn't doubt some of those murderers have been murdering for years. For years now. Some of those killers have been killing for years. And as I've been saying, we look at the domestic violence murders that have been happening. And I think just the violent atmosphere with the amount of murders we have in the country currently creates an atmosphere conducive for that kind of thing. That's my theory. Not saying that it's the government's fault that some of these men are sick and horrible beasts, but in a chaotic atmosphere, bad people do more bad things. That's just how it works. Like when people talk about we need a revolution and we need to turn over this country. If we were to create a revolution in Trinidad and Tobago where we topple the government and there was chaos in Trinidad for a bit, it's going to become a horrible place because the bad people are going to come out and use the opportunity to do bad things. And I think some of that is what we're seeing. Some of that is what we're seeing. Like, so, you see, those domestic violence murders, there really isn't a whole heaping deal that can be done about it before the fact. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do anything to the men after the fact, but before the fact, there isn't a whole heaping deal that the authorities could do to stop it. That's something you have to depend on the society and culture to have enough pressures leaning on some of these monsters that they know, listen, I'm not going to get away with this. This isn't going to be approved of. I'm always going to be caught. It's going to be worse for me. So even if this is the kind of thought process I have, I'll never execute it. It's dangerous because of the influx of Jamaican. Okay, JN Noel. Facts, Umar. That's militant. Is militant rockstar is your name? Changed your name? JN Noel. I don't think it's the Jamaicans doing it. To me, look over. The same thing I'm saying is my theory is what's happening in Tobago also. You have made the place has become so comfortable in violence that people who were waiting on their opportunity to be violent will take the opportunity. I wouldn't doubt many of the murderers and obviously those who were murdered in Tobago for the year so far as 25 or something like that they reach, or we reach. They were in Tobago for years now. They have been in Tobago decades now. They've been doing whatever they've been doing probably for years now. So how come is it that on this year that they choose to start this killing business? Or to continue on with this killing business? Because it has become more of a norm. That's my theory. The authorities haven't clamped down on it enough. Haven't clamped down on it enough to the point where it's unthinkable and impossible. Like, I remember in some of those earlier discussions, we had Umar speaking about things in some of the Middle Eastern countries. And in some of those countries, certain types of crime are nearly non-existent. Not because people don't think about it or there aren't people who want to do it, but it's just the cultural, societal deterrent is so strong that the idea, as soon as it pops into your head, is thrown out. And I heard Mr. Padera talking about, MP Padera talking about a domestic violence bureau. I still don't think that's going to prevent what you're trying to prevent. That's not how you prevent that. A domestic violence bureau isn't going to do that. Good night. Harsher penalties and fines are needed. Harsher penalties and fines for what? The penalty still in the law books in Trinidad for first degree murder is hanging, capital punishment. Like life imprisonment. That's the... What harsher punishment could you threaten a man the last man who chopped up his common law wife, reportedly because she got a text from Digicel. Reportedly. We don't know the full details, but that's the report. And then sat down and waited for the officers to come and give up himself. What threat and penalty could have been put on the law books that you think would have stopped that man when he reached into his fit of rage? Do you think that when he was doing what he was doing, that he had in his mind, I think I will get away with this, you know? I will get away. That is because Trinidad don't have harsh penalties. Correct, HYMC. Jen Noel says you need vigilante cops taking out them so-called bad man. You know, I think if that was the case, crime would decrease in Trinidad. If we had vigilante police who went around taking out all of the known bad men, we'd have a serious decrease in crime. But that's a part of the problem in and of itself. If you have vigilante police who could murder on a whim, you're hoping and depending on those men being moral men. That all they're going to do is kill the bad men and do nothing more than that. But that's not the case. White leather, that's why I said that. I don't wanna get into the speculative, especially speaking about someone who was murdered and murdered in a horrible way. But yes, white leather, I see what you're saying, and I see what you're saying. Because the man, when the police came, he reportedly told the police he knew why he did what he did. The good book has said this thousands of years ago, maybe up to 3,000 years ago. Jealousy is the rage of a man. That's not something you want to play around with. As a woman, you don't want to play around with a man's jealousy. That's a bad idea. A bad idea. Yes. For those of you who would want to see something like, obviously, no man should harm a woman even if he's jealous over that. That's not for you to do as a man. No, you should not do that. But nonetheless, there are men who will do it. There are men who will literally crash out. What crash out means is consequences be damned. They do not care. You cannot threaten them with consequences after the fact. Stop that. Men, there have been numerous cases where men attempt to end it all by ending their wife, their entire family, all the children, and then themselves. What a man that reaches that point, what are you going to threaten him with? What's the threat you're going to send to a man like that to stop it? Like, if this man is willing and aiming to destroy everything in his world, he wants his entire world to disappear, to vanish, to be destroyed and exist no more. What are you going to threaten him with? What's the threat that's going to deter someone like that? Exactly, Joe. That's why, one, you want a cultural and societal pressure that leans on the side of it being impossible for men to treat their wives like that. Like, that's so unheard of. It's not like in the moment now you're thinking about what the police would do to you. No, there's societal pressure that this is something unheard of in my society. But here's the thing. In certain subsectors of society, licks and beating and threatening to kill the woman and kill everybody is acceptable. And that's a problem. Why do you think it is that, and just how I'd be blunt, just how I was blunt with the woman and the woman in the policing thing, let's be blunt. Why is it that certain kinds of that domestic situation is found more in the Indo community? It's a cultural issue, obviously. Same thing with the bandits, just by the way, for the Afros. Cultural problem. Cultural issues. The police can't create a threat and a promise of jail that's going to deter those cultural issues. Not gonna happen. And attempting to create a whole new government association to try to cure it, not good. To me, it's a similar thing like the bullying issue. I hope you all hear what I'm saying and don't hear what I'm not saying when I say this. Bullying has been a constant of humanity, especially for boys coming of age, since time immemorial. Bullying is normal. I'm not saying it's good, but bullying is normal. A young person crashing themselves out is not normal. I'll say it again as I continue in my statement because I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying and don't hear what I'm not saying. Bullying is normal. Young person crashing themselves out is not normal. If you're looking at a situation that involved the two, the more abnormal thing is to figure out, why would this boy do that? Not really to stop the bullying. This is not to say that we shouldn't stop bullying and look out for people that are bullied. We should. It's not a good thing, but it's normal. And I don't think that the government or the state could eradicate bullying without making childhood into a very weird, creepy, government-controlled oddity. It's not possible. They've been trying. They don't seem able. Good night, Kwesi Andrews. White Leather and Angie and Noel. There are so many things I could say on this, but it's one of those situations that you just have to be very careful how you talk about certain things with this. Sometimes bullying is a good thing in small proportion, just my humble opinion. It's mine too, HYMC. I think, and you see, because bullying is such a catch-all term. When you say bullying, there are a million different things that you mean by that. But to some extent, bullying is how society is formed. We squeeze and pressure each other into doing things that are normal. That's what we do. The reason that there are commonalities in the Trinidad and Tobago society is because there are societal pressures. It's the same thing. I was like, listen, if you have a brethren and he started to talk about beating his wife and crashing out, and I think she warning me and I go done it up, bro, bully him into not doing those things. If you understand what I mean, pressure people into the direction, the societal direction that they want. That's what society does. Society does cut off your rough edges. Yeah, man, Kwesi, it's been a while. I was with the newborn on paternity leave. Yeah. Bullying does that too. fat shaming works. And Lizzo on a weight loss journey. Like, and I'm speaking in a vacuum here, not necessarily about the unfortunate circumstance, but I think an important question, and I know the anti-bullying lobby is going to hate that, but I think an important question in bullying is, what they bullying you for? Like, okay, you're being bullied. What were you being bullied about? What was this bully doing to you? What were they telling you about? Because it could be, I'm not saying this for this is totally a new situation. I'm making a hypothetical speaking about bullying in general. But it could be that some boys are Georgie Porgy. Pudding and pie, you all know that nursery rhyme? Kiss the girls and made them cry. And when the boys came out to play, Georgie Porgy ran away. So if Georgie Porgy ran in the office and said the boys bullying me, are you going to go and buff up the boys in the yard for bullying Georgie Porgy? Or are you going to tell the boys, good job, Georgie Porgy was a pervert and he needed to understand that's not acceptable? I saw some persons making opinions on social media and it shows our culture of it though as in the negative manner. Yep, I saw a lot of people talking about bullying and bullying and bullying. And listen, the police said it too, that since those incidents, they have been receiving record numbers of reports. The reality is, if you want to get horror stories out of bullying, listen, out of living adults right now, you could get some kind of horror stories from back in school days bullying. I'm telling you, I know, I'm sure. Bullying, it's not new, it's not strange. And if you want horror stories, you could get a lot of those horror stories. Like, but certain things are always strike me as strange. I'm a homeschool advocate. I haven't advertised it in a while, but mindful education, we do that. But I'm a homeschool advocate, so you know where I'm pointing in that direction. But to me, it's so confusing. I read an article the other day. Somebody is saying their child is being bullied. Bullied so much, they have to pack extra juice in the child's lunchbox for the bully. That means you know that the bully is bullying. Eh? You are fully aware of the bully bullying. And you just send your child to the school normal. Because, you know, that's the closest school. Like, what you mean? How you mean? And then we want the government to come in and the government do something to see. What you mean? How you mean you as an adult cannot deal with your child being bullied? How you mean you can't deal with your child being bullied? To me, a lot of this doesn't need the government and its parents. You could go parent to parent and speak. And then, if the other parent behaves like an ignoramus, then we get the police involved. Because now it's adult to adult. Police don't even have to deal with the child. Child, your mommy and daddy going to jail for your stupidity. That's parents are supposed to deal. You're telling me your child is going to a hellscape to go to school for 8 hours, spend 8 hours in that hellscape of trauma. You know it's traumatic, and you would still pick up your good, pretty little child, dress them up nice in the morning, smelling clean, and send them off with payment for the bully in their lunch bag. You have to be you have to be joking. No, I couldn't see it. Not me. Anyway, folks, can't stay too long. Have many duties to take care of. It was nice being back. We're trying to, get a nice, stable return. Laxity. Bro, I don't even want to go down that. I don't even want to entertain the thought of that being my child in that situation, because my mind starts to go down a kind of, vengeful, a little too dark road. So let's stay away from that line. Keep my mind nice and cherry, because couldn't be mine. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand how such a thing happens. I'm late and missed your take on bullying. All right, I'll repeat it. Listen carefully what I'm saying. Bullying is normal. That's not to say it's good, but bullying is normal. And as I said about the incident, a child offing themselves is not normal. So if those two things are in a situation, the thing that requires more explanation, to me, is the thing that's not normal. This is not to say that we don't have an appeal to, make things better. But I think in the time since the 90s, where we've overly focused on bullying and attempting to eradicate it, it has gotten worse. Because I don't think we can eradicate bullying like that. You can't. Like, if you grow up with siblings, and even if you grow up with good siblings with good parents, your parents don't want the siblings bickering and bullying each other, but they learn how to do it nonetheless. Two young boys I know very well, very, very well. Brothers bickering, the older one calling the younger one cute, and the younger one is annoyed by it, but the older one knows, big brother knows, that young brother hates to be called cute, so he's provoking him with it. Hey cutie, cute stuff, cute. And the younger brother is losing it, tears. So parent comes in, none of that, stop that, cut that out. Now, even in the first place, how do you buff a child for complimenting his brother? But all right, you know what's going on here, stop it. But here's what he was doing. When he said cute, he was like, yo, so cute. And make a little song with it. Cute, cute. So you know what he does now? He doesn't say cute anymore. He just walks past and go, And little brother is going to be driven insane. Mommy could come out and say, don't do that. I see what you're doing. And you know what he's going to do now? He won't even make the song, because he already conditioned you. You just watch it and little brother going insane. And those are good boys, good parents. How you gonna stop that? How you stopping that? How? Or is the more important thing to tell little brother, you have to be a little more resilient, eh? Yes, I know he is annoying you. I know he's doing it on purpose. But you have to be more resilient. That's the solution. The solution is resilience. Like for me, a lot of bullying goes a different direction when it gets physical. That's past just bullying. You beating somebody up, no, that's assault. But in words and that kind of stuff, and they could get hurtful. I'm not saying words are wind and words can't hurt. Yeah, of course, but resilience is really the solution for that. Reading that story, the same very tragic one, the main incident, as far as I could read, I'm talking about what I read. I wasn't there. As far as I could read, they were harassing him, according to his parents, about his accent. And him being an American, if he was in the school for 5 years, how does he still have an accent? But okay. And the incident, they said, is a student pulled his mask, wearing a mask. Like, parents, you have to be careful how you set up your child and send them out to school. You do not want to set up a target at the same time. Like, be reasonable. But okay, a student pulled his mask and he punched the student in his face. That was the story given. Like, is that the superb extreme of bullying that must be eradicated every chance we get? I'll leave it at a question. And I think personally, and this might go back to where we started at with the lady officers. I think personally, many women should mind their business when it comes to males coming of age and bullying. You don't understand. And you will never understand, some of you. You are seeking to cuddle and cushion everything for your young boy child, and you are going to make a target. You are going to make it worse for him, and he's going to grow into a weirdo as he gets older. So, mommy, relax. Sometimes mommy overdoing it makes the child get bullied more. If he's in high school, he shouldn't have the lunch bag, the lunch kit with the action figure. Maybe that's just where, the boys his age are forcing him to come of age. No, you don't have the shiny plastic lunch kit anymore. You grew out of that. No, mommy, you cannot pack his favorite blankie in his bag. And if the boys in school tease him because of it, I do believe that boys will be boys. I do believe that. This is not an endorsement of bullying, nor an endorsement of cruelty. Just let that be known. That's not at all what I'm saying. But regardless of how much we try, boys will always be boys. Regardless of how much we try to negate that. All right, that's all I have for now, folks. I hope you're entertained, educated, or informed. Wow, it's been a while. Educated, informed, or entertained. Wow. I had to think about it. I'll see you guys again, hopefully tomorrow for the next Mindful Live, starting around that 9:30 p.m. time. Until then, people, peace out. Ciao. See you later. Hold it down. Peace. I'm gone. Bye.